Hello everyone, Michael Babcock here, also known as the Disney Dude. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel for more content, and please hit that thumbs up if you like the video. So now I'm gonna do something different on this episode. I have finally went and I finally went and previewed Epic Universe, which is, the theme park that everyone's talking about, and how it's going to be a game changer, and that Disney should be afraid, and that no one's going to go to Walt Disney World anymore, and they're all going to go to Epic Universe. So I finally bought my ticket. I finally went today, and I did walk around and reviewed everything, and so now I want to give you my very honest thoughts of what I thought about Epic Universe. So this is going to be a little bit different. I know that I mainly comment on the news and such at the Walt Disney World Resort, but I figured that since Universal finally opened up their third theme park, and this is the one that everyone's talking about, and that everyone says that it's going to be a Disney killer and everything. I just wanted to go see the park for myself and see what I would like, what I didn't like, and how this really pertains to Walt Disney World and SeaWorld, really, for that matter. And if you want to put Busch Gardens into that conversation, we can say that too, Busch Gardens as well. But now here's my very honest review of Epic Universe at the Universal Orlando Resort. So just a few things before we get going here. Yes, I call these all honest reviews. I'm not on the media list for Disney. I'm not on the media list for Universal. I don't have anyone telling me what I should or shouldn't say. So whenever I preview a new theme park or a new ride or a new show or a new land or whatever in the theme park realm, I do what I call my honest review of it. Because this is an honest review, again, I don't have anybody saying, you should say this, you should not say that, and blah, blah, blah. So this is a very honest thought about anything anything that's coming up. So Epic Universe has been talked about for quite a while now. It was supposed to work was supposed to start in I believe it was like 20. Work had already begun. I think the park was supposed to open 2019 or 2020 or something like that. I can't offhand remember. But I think that's when the timeline when it was supposed to open. Unfortunately, if we could only go back and warn ourselves what was coming in 2020, of course, COVID-19 happened. The pandemic happened, everything shut down. Disney, Universal, all the theme parks closed. So construction on everything was stopped. Okay, so it took quite a while for everyone to pick up the pieces and start over again. So Epic Universe was finally built, and it's still in previews. It's not open yet, but it is finished. It's done. But they're just giving everybody time to preview the park and what it looks like before it opens to everybody. Okay, so I did write down what I really liked about the parks, and of course this is an honest review, so I'm gonna write down things that I didn't like about the park as well. So let's jump into this thing. I'm gonna keep the historical stuff until the end of it, the political stuff, because because Ron DeSantis gave Universal their own tax district, pretty much in the same vein as Walt Disney World was. But I'm gonna save that until the end, and I'm just going to tell you what I liked and what I didn't like at each of these lands. Okay, so before you walk into the theme park, and it's each land is divided into what they call portals. Okay, so what you do is you go through each portal or gate, if you want to call it that, and that takes you into the lands. Okay, so I really liked that idea. I really liked that they had these essentially gates that kind of separated you from each land. It really helped the sightlines, because Universal is well known for not caring about their sightlines. So I was really pleased that they took the time to correct that and fix that. So each land is specifically walled off from the other land, so you can't see anything. You can't see anything. If you're in Super Nintendo World, you cannot see Harry Potter looking out at you. You can't see. If you're in the Isle of Berk, you cannot see the Monsters Land looking out at you. Okay, if you're in Harry Potter, you can't see Super Nintendo World staring at you. So I really appreciated that. I really like that. It separates you from each land, so you are specifically in that land. Okay, so you're specifically in that land. All right, until you exit. So that's a really, really great idea. I'm glad that they did that. It specifically walls you off. It walls you off, so no matter which way you look, north, south, east, west, you can't see, any other lands looking out at you. Okay. There is one ride I'm going to talk about. That's a roller coaster that unfortunately you see another land, but I'll get into that. But I really appreciated that fact. I really appreciated that fact that Universal really took the time and said, we're going to basically seal you off from every other land in this theme park. So you're specifically in that land. I'm walking around Super Nintendo World, and it really feels like you are in, Super Mario. Okay? There is nothing, even when you're riding, Yoshi, which is, a ride that's elevated. Okay? It's, even when you ride that ride, there's nothing, they built the walls tall enough where you can't see any of the outside world. Okay, and that's really great. That is really what you're supposed to do when you're making these different themed lands and in these theme parks. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to seal off the land so sight lines are not an issue. Okay, which is the big problem I have with the regular Universal theme parks is, they didn't care about sight lines. Okay, they didn't care about sight lines, and when you're up at the tallest peaks of roller coasters or the Seuss Trolley Tram Tour or whatever. You see different lands. You see the outside world, and it's like I'm no longer in Seuss Landing. I'm no longer in Marvel Superhero Island. I'm no longer in whatever land it is. So I really appreciated that fact that they learned from that mistake and they sealed off the lands, which is great, which is really, really great. So I really appreciated the fact that, someone said, you know what, we're taking the time to seal you off from, the other lands so you can't see the other lands looking out at you, which I really, really loved. I loved that idea. All right, and trust me, there's going to be things that I, don't like, okay? There's plenty of stuff that I don't like, okay? So, and that's the point of this honest review, is to tell you what I liked and what I didn't like. So I'm not just being, really optimistic about this, or I'm just being extremely pessimistic, okay? So, but now I'm going to go through each thing of what I liked and what I didn't like, okay? So, the first one I already talked about, Super Mario Land feels, really cut off from the rest of the lands. You can't see anything. You can't see anything past, Super Mario World, which is fantastic, okay? So, and, the animatronics, some of the animatronics that they did really looked great. They really looked great. I'm glad that they finally realized that, they need to start competing with Disney. Okay? They need to start competing with Disney. They need to up their game. So I'm glad that they did build some animatronics. They look great. Their movements are fantastic. Again, this is a technical rehearsal. This is still in rehearsal. So things, animatronics are going to break down. Things are going to break down and everything. So, but, with the animatronics that I did see, they're really, really good. They're really impressive figures, okay? Unfortunately, I didn't get to ride Minecart Madness, which is the Donkey Kong roller coaster, because it was down all day today. I did go into the queue because they felt like they were ready to open. They opened up the queue, and I walk in, and there's this great big, audio animatronic of this Donkey Kong, I guess, elder, whatever he's supposed to be, which is, his movements are great. It's, Hiccup's animatronic, the dragon is fantastic looking. It's some of these animatronics, they really took the time to make these very, very, very special. And I really dig that fact. I really like it. Okay. So we talked about this a little bit also. The gates, they call them portals, but they're gates that you have to pass through to go to each land. They really help. Again, they help the sight lines. They really help the sight lines, so you can't see anything in another land. So that I really appreciated as well. Okay. So if Universal does do something like this again, I really hope that they look at these portals, because that's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it's supposed to be. Okay? So kudos to them for doing that. The food was good. I ended up I ended up eating about somewhere around 5 in Celestial Park, which is kind of the gateway to each of the lands. I did eat at the pizza place there. I can't remember what it's called now. But it was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't like, wow, this is the greatest thing I ever had. But it was good. It was good. It was not. It was it wasn't the best. It wasn't the worst pizza I had, like at Pinocchio's Village House. If you go there and don't get the pizza at Pinocchio's Village House, because it's gross. Okay, so it's not that. It's really good. So it's the pizza is better at this pizza place. Okay, so I really wanted to eat at Super Mario World, but at the Toadstool Cafe. Fortunately, I didn't do that. Once this opens to everybody, hopefully, again, I really hope, that, I really hope that once this theme park opens to everybody, they'll add this to the annual pass holders as well. So us annual pass holders can go, because I want to go back. I want to go back and see the Toadstool Cafe and all the other stuff I didn't get to experience today. So, and I want to take more time. I mean, I took my time today, but it was rainy. It was nasty. It was not a great day outside. Okay, so I do want to go back, and I do want to take more of my time and see these lands when the weather is a lot better. All right, all of the team members were in the correct costumes in each location, and no one was out of place. Okay, so my biggest complaint in Walt Disney World in recent years is in not everywhere. Well, I mean, kind of other places. But, it's like, I go to Magic Kingdom. I go to the Magic Kingdom, and I'm sitting there waiting for the parade in Frontierland, and I see Adventureland cast members there, and I see, I see Main Street cast members there in their costumes, and it's just like that. Just completely pulls me out. Completely pulls me out, which is why I've been watching the parade in Main Street, USA, because every single cast member is in costume there. There is no cast members that are out of costume on Main Street, USA during the parade. Okay, which that's been my biggest complaint is, it's like, look, these are different lands. These are different lands. They need to have different cast members with, different costumes. Okay? And I did not feel that here. I did not feel that. Okay? When I walked into, Super Mario World, every single team member was in costume. Every single team member was in their correct, Mario Super Nintendo World outfit. When I walked into the Monsters Land, everybody was dressed up like all the team members were dressed up like mad scientists. Okay? When I went to the Isle of Berk, they were all dressed up like, the team members were all dressed up like Vikings. Okay? When I was in when I was in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, every single team member was in the correct, they all look like witches and wizards, okay? Which is great. Which is what you're, what you're supposed to do. Okay? There was never a time when I was there that I saw a Monsters team member in Super Mario World, or there was a Isle of Berk team member in Monsters in the Monsters Land. Okay, so every single team member was in the correct costume at the correct location. So I really, really like that. It just keeps everything more cohesive. It keeps everything like you're in that world. Okay, which Disney used to be that way, and unfortunately now it's now I see Toy Story Land cast members walking through Galaxy's Edge, and I see, Adventureland cast members in Frontierland, or, Fantasyland cast members in, walking through Adventureland. So, Disney really needs to learn, again, that, it's, these are different cast members, different locations, different uniforms, so they need to be in their correct location. They need to be in their correct location, which is what Universal did, and I kudos to them. Kudos to them for doing that, because that just helps. That just helps add to the overall experience of the place. So, okay, so now I've gone over a couple things that I liked. So, now I'm going to go over a couple things that I didn't like, okay? So, the rides, excuse me, the rides kept going down a lot today. A lot today. They clearly have a lot to do before the park opens on May 22nd. They have a lot to do. A lot of work to do to get this thing ready for that May 22nd opening. Which I knew that this was going to be somewhat of a disaster, because whenever you open a park or, a new ride or whatever, things are going to go wrong. Things are going to go wrong, okay? And things absolutely went wrong today, okay? And look, I cannot blame rides going down on team members. I can't do that. They're still learning things, okay? These rides are technical, okay? And, they still have a lot to learn about how these rides work, how they operate, how they evacuate people, how they check for safety and everything. So there's still a lot to do. There's a lot to do before this May 22nd opening, okay? So you can call that, a con. It's in technical previews. It's in a rehearsal. So things are going to go wrong. Things are going to go wrong. People just, you need to know that. You really need to know that before you go and preview this park. Okay? Rides are going to go down. They're going to go down a lot. I mean, they went down a lot today. A lot. Okay? So, just be aware that, the rides are, some of the rides are not going to be available. Like Donkey Kong. That was down all day today. Okay? Ministry of Magic. The ride at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter never came up. Never came up. Okay? The circus show over at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. They had to keep canceling shows because, of the technical things that they still need to learn. They still need to learn. And so just so you folks are aware that when you go, just be prepared that a lot of things are not going to be open. They're not going to be open, okay? So it's not the team members' fault, okay? And it's not the cast members' fault either when rides break down at Disney, because these rides are, technical, achievements. Whether they're screen-based or not, they're still technical rides, and they're gonna break down. They're just gonna break down. That's just a matter of fact. Okay? So, and everyone today was so nice. Everyone was, all the guests, they knew that. They knew that this was a technical rehearsal. And no one got upset. At least not, I'm sure people got upset, but they were not like yelling and screaming at the team members because the ride went down. Okay? Which is so much different than Disney. Okay? When a ride goes down at Disney, I can't even tell you. I cannot count on my two hands how many times I have seen guests yell at cast members because the ride goes down. Okay? Now, will that change once this park officially opens? I don't know. But at least today, people were not yelling and screaming at people, which is great. Okay? So, but again, they still have a lot to do. They still have a lot to do until the park officially opens. So just keep that in mind if you have a preview coming up. Just be prepared that a lot of rides and the shows are going to go down. They are going to go down, okay? So just keep that in mind. All right. For the most part, again, sightlines were not an issue. I did have one problem. The sightline issues I had were with Hiccups Wing Glider Coaster. Okay? which you're kind of stuck. You're kind of stuck with your, when you build coasters, you're really stuck with the layout. So there's a lot that you unfortunately sight lines are going to be really kind of bad with coasters because of just the way that they're built. Okay. But I mean, it's like if you knew that there was going to be sightline issues, then you could have just turned the coaster the other way. Turn the coaster the other way, so I'm not looking at what was showing. I think it was the Harry Potter world that I was seeing. Okay, I think that was the land that I saw when I was up at the tallest part of this coaster. Okay, so it's so I wish that they would have done better with. They could have just turned the coaster the other way, built it, because they were starting with a fresh plot of land. Okay, so they could have been like, that faces the wrong direction. This coaster is facing the wrong direction. We should turn it away so you're not facing, Harry Potter. But it is what it is. It's one of the complaints that I have with, like Slinky Dog Dash, which I really love. I love Slinky Dog Dash over at Disney's Hollywood Studios. But the problem I have with Slinky Dog Dash is it faces two lands in different directions. So in, the first half of the ride, you're facing Galaxy's Edge. Okay? You see Galaxy's Edge right in front of you. Okay? The second half of the ride, you're faced the other direction, so you see the Tower of Terror, staring at you. And it's like, at no point do I feel like I'm in Andy's backyard. Okay? That's at no point do I feel like I'm in Andy's backyard. Okay? Because the sight lines are just horrible. Okay? At no point do I feel like, like when I'm on Big Thunder Mountain Railroad at the Magic Kingdom. You never leave Frontierland. You never leave Frontierland, okay? Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. You never leave Fantasyland, okay? So it can be done. It can be done. It's just, unfortunately sometimes they don't have the foresight to see that, the sight line is bad right here. We really should turn the coaster away so you're not faced the other direction. But but that was the only problem I had with the sight lines. Okay, now I didn't get to do Donkey Kong, so I don't know about that yet. If I don't know about the sight lines on that coaster yet, but we're just going to have to wait and see on that one. But, but there was only one sightline issue. And that was Hiccup's wing glider. Okay? So, I really applaud them. I really applaud them for, keeping the sight lines, where they should be. Unfortunately, that was just one bad instance, okay? Alright. Annual pass holders, if you're at the highest level of annual pass like I am, after 4 o'clock, you can they give you free fast passes to use once per ride. Unfortunately, right now you can't do that. Okay, As us annual pass holders can't use our free fast passes after 4 o'clock at Epic Universe. I tried, but it was, but I was wrong. I was wrong. So that was, I mean, will it change when Epic opens? I really hope so. I really, really hope so. And I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. But, but as of right now, if you are an annual pass holder, just be aware that, if you're, at the highest level of annual pass, the premier pass, you can't use the fast passes after 4 o'clock. Okay, so unless you actually buy the fast passes, you can't use your annual pass for fast passes. Okay, so just keep that in mind. This one I touched on already. The Ministry of Magic and Minecart Madness was closed all day today. Again, this is still technical rehearsals. So they still have a lot to learn. So I really hope that they figure that out, that they figure out the problems and they work the kinks out. But I understand that was going to be a con anyway today, because this is still in previews, so they have to work out all the bugs. Okay. Now I want to talk about something that is really controversial. If you follow Disney theme parks here in Florida, this is really controversial. So I've already done the story of Ron DeSantis taking away Walt Disney World Special Tax District because they stood up to him, and replaced them. He replaced the tax district with his own tax district, so the people in Florida now control that district. It's no longer Disney's district anymore. Okay? So, but Universal had the foresight to say, oh, wait a minute, since Disney lost their special tax district, we can get one. So they filed the necessary paperwork and stuff, and Florida approved Universal's own special tax district, which they don't control. Okay, Florida does not control Universal's tax district. Universal's special tax district is called Shingle Creek. Universal actually controls their own. They are in control of their own district, which is what Disney was. Disney controlled their own district until Ron DeSantis decided to take it away. That I think was really stupid. That was petty of him to basically say, yeah, I'll give you a special tax district, absolutely, because I know that you won't stand up to me. So he gave Universal their own tax district, which, I'm sorry, that is outrageous. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, okay? Which is, that's not what I'm saying, okay? Disney had one for many, many, many years, 50 years, okay? So I'm not saying that they shouldn't have one, okay? But how can you favor one theme park over another just because one stood up to you, okay? So I thought that was outrageous. That was outrageous. So Universal now has an edge. Universal now has an edge over Disney because they can, do their own thing, and they can approve permits and stuff way faster now than Disney can. So I think that was really stupid. That was really, really stupid of Ron DeSantis to do. Okay, is take Disney's special tax district away, and then turn right around and say, yeah, I'll give one to Universal. Absolutely, I will absolutely give one to Universal and keep my hands off. So I'm sorry. That is outrageous. That is outrageous. That is wrong, and I can't believe that. Florida let him get away with that, because that's nonsense. That is nonsense. How do you favor one theme park over another? Okay? This is your state. This is your state. Okay? You cannot favor one theme park over another. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. All right? And I really hate to tell you that, DeSantis, but that's the way it works. That's the way it works. Okay? Disney had a special tax district way before you came along and ruined it. Okay? And then you turned right around and you gave Universal their own one. Okay? And say, hands off. That's your special tax district. I don't need that one. I already control Disney. Okay? So, that is outrageous. That is outrageous for him to do. And really, really controversial. So, I can't believe that there wasn't, a lawsuit over that one. But, what's done is done. What's done is done at this point. So now I want to talk about, so many people have been calling this a Disney killer. This theme park is going to kill Disney. And everyone is going to go to Epic Universe now, and no one's going to go to Walt Disney World anymore. That is not true. That is not true. Okay? I walked around Epic Universe today, and nowhere in my mind did I think, wow, this is so much better than Disney. This is so much better than Disney. The lands were impressive. The lands were absolutely impressive, okay? But it is not a Disney killer. It is not a Disney killer, okay? And this goes back to when I said that, tourism is going to slow down here in Florida this summer. That has nothing to do with Universal. That has nothing to do with Disney. That has nothing to do with SeaWorld. Okay? It's the fact that here in Florida, it's extremely hot here in Florida in the summertime. And it rains a lot. It rained all day here today. Okay? And people are figuring out that, wow, Florida is not great in the summertime. So this park is not going to save tourism. This park is not going to save tourism. Okay? So people, you need to learn that. You need to learn that Epic Universe is not going to hurt Disney. Okay? It's not going to hurt Disney. It's not going to hurt, their own parks in any other way. Okay? It's just not. Okay? Tourism is going to take a big chunk this year, but that's not because of the Epic Universe. That's not because Disney is expanding their theme parks. It has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. Okay? It's because no one wants to come here in the summertime and walk around hot theme parks and rainy theme parks, okay? They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. Revenge travel is over. So I got news for you, my friends. It's got nothing to do with one or the other. Okay? People are learning that Florida is not great in the summertime. And no amount of new theme parks or expanded theme parks is going to help that. Okay? And if tourism does boom this season, then I will eat my shoe. I will definitely eat my words. Okay? As we all will. Because we've all been saying to you that this is going to be a really slow summer. It's going to be a really slow summer here at the theme parks. Okay? But Epic Universe is not a Disney killer. It is not a Disney killer, okay? Alright, so I've already talked about that. They do need more time to get everything ready, okay? Everything is not ready. They're still in rehearsals. Things are still disasters. They still need a long time to open up these parks and get these ready, okay? They still need time, okay? So, they still have a long way to go until May 22nd to get these parks up and running, okay? And May 22nd, if that rolls around and the theme parks still aren't ready, so don't be surprised, okay? Don't be surprised if the theme park still isn't ready, okay? So, but it's a lot of work. A lot of work definitely needs to be done. All right. I've already talked about great animatronics, but there are still so many rides on screens. Okay, still so many rides on screens. Okay, Mario Kart, that is all on a screen. That is all on a screen. A couple of, animatronics here and there, but that ride is all virtual. It's a virtual reality simulator that's a slow-moving dark ride. It's a slow-moving dark ride that uses VR goggles. Okay? So it's all on screen. Okay, that's not what I pictured. Racing Mario Kart ride to be. Okay, when you think of Mario Kart, you think of a fast-paced ride where you're shooting things at people and knocking them out of the way and everything. That ride is not that. It is not that. It is a slow-moving dark ride with VR glasses that is not, there's nothing racing about it. Okay? There's nothing, you do not go fast on this ride. Okay? So that is unfortunate that, because many people have different perceptions. A lot of us have different perception of, what a Mario Kart ride should be. Okay? And everybody thinks, a fast-paced go-kart ride or a roller coaster or whatever. But that's not what this is. That's not what this is, okay? So that ride is disappointing. Now, the queue for that ride is absolutely spectacular. That queue is top 10 in my book, okay? They did a really great job of making you feel like you're in Bowser's Castle, okay? So the queue is absolutely spectacular. The ride is not, okay? The ride is not, all right? All right. And I've already talked about the special tax district and everything. Again, this park officially opens on May 22nd. So, in summary, to wrap this all up, if you do have tickets to Epic Universe, go. You're gonna enjoy it, but just be prepared that this park is still in rehearsal. This park is still in rehearsal. Things are going to break down. Things are not going to open. You know, rides are going to break down a lot. Okay? The shows are going to break down. You know, they're going to cancel a lot of shows. So you just have to you have to expect that. You have to expect that when you go to these previews, okay? A lot of people online are in discourse and they're like, I can't believe Universal would, preview this park when it's not ready, and the rides kept breaking down and blah blah blah, and I didn't have a great time, and so what did you expect? What did you expect? Okay, I don't know what people expected when the park is still in technical rehearsals. Okay, you know that. Universal tells you that like 100 times when you book the ticket, when you walk in the front gate. It says this park is still in technical rehearsals. Some experiences or shows may not be available. Okay, so you have to know that when you go in. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, but I definitely think you should go. You're gonna have a good time. But just be prepared that things aren't gonna go according to plan. Okay, things are not gonna go according to plan. All right, so. But that's going to do it for this honest review. If you like this honest review, and if you want to see more honest reviews from me, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to my channel for more content. I thank you guys very much for watching this video. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you very much, and just remember that anything is possible. Okay. So I'm going to end this video with I usually say a dream is that tomorrow is just a dream away, but I'm going to end this video by saying that fun is universal. So thank you very much for watching, and see you later.